Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of All Access AM. I am Billy Embody. Happy Thursday to you. Kicking off ACC Week 10 with a preview-focused edition of All Access AM. We are live Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 7 to 8 a.m. Central, 8 to 9 Eastern Time. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're right here on your screen if you're listening to us at this very moment that I'm saying these words. So thank you for tuning in. Please do me a favor, hit subscribe to All Access AM's YouTube channel. The link to do that is in the description on our YouTube channel. If you're watching there, please just hit that subscribe button or just go to and search All Access AM on YouTube. We've got a jam-packed show for you guys at 7:20 a.m. Central. We're going to be joined by Dana Boyle of ACC Network. At 7:40 a.m. Central, we're going to be joined by Taylor Tannebaum of ACC Network. So really excited to preview Week 10 with these ladies of the ACC Network and ESPN. Pumped up for them to join us. Taylor Tannebaum headed to Dallas this weekend to get back to their home away from home last year, as they called it, SMU, as they host Miami. We'll talk about that game as well. Dana Boyle and ACC Network has Duke Clemson, another big game at the 11 o'clock hour for the Central Time folks, noon Eastern, as Duke and Clemson both coming off of byes. We'll preview that game with Dana here in just about 15 minutes or so. And there is a lot to talk about, of course, with Week 10 of the ACC. And we'll even talk a little bit about the Florida State opening or potential opening, I should say. Gosh, we just covered that thing like it's already open, with our friend Taylor Tannebaum, an FSU alum. So pumped to get into it. We are presented by our friends at Horn Legend. I'm wearing one of their SMU choices off the polo side of things, but Horn Legend is one of the most, I think, up and coming brands across the country right now in the premium polo and pullover space. Go to their website, hornlegend.com. We also have it linked here for you guys. They have all sorts of collections across the college side of things, from the SEC to the ACC to the Big 12 to the Big 10. There you go. SMU fans right there. You could jump on the page and go right to see their SMU collection, which is really, really robust. They've got quite the selection there. But ACC fans, that's not all. If you go there, Clemson fans, they've got a really nice selection here as well. So check them out. You get free shipping with code PONY, and I would encourage you to do the drop down that says where you heard about us, which is on the Pony Express. We're trying to get them to do a more ACC all access code, but for now, code PONY with free shipping from our friends at Horn Legend. So really nice situation there. We actually had a size exchange for my wife, Michelle, who got a pullover from them, free shipping to return it and exchange it. And guess what? They had the new one headed back our way before we even got the old one back to them that didn't fit. So can't say enough good things about Horn Legend, but here's the polo that I'm wearing today, the Mustang, and it's really, really comfortable and breathable. So let's get into it. ACC Week 10. I did give you guys some of my games to watch. If you watch the Wednesday edition, those were some of the picks that I gave out. We talked a little SMU. We talked a little Clemson, Duke. But we're going to pick the rest of the games in what is quite the slate of sleeper games for this Week 10 ACC schedule. And when you look at what this schedule has built up to be, the 11 a.m. Central Time hour is really, really two good games. They're probably the most kind of potentially straight up battles, I would say, on the slate for the ACC in Week 10. You do have North Carolina and Syracuse, though, heading into Halloween, 6:30 p.m. Central on ESPN. North Carolina headed up to face Syracuse. And this is a 2-point favorite toward the Orange. They're the home team. Telling me in Chapel Hill or on a neutral site, really, that the Tar Heels would be favored. I go with Vegas in that sense of the neutral site, but I'm picking North Carolina in this game. I'm picking them straight up. I'm picking them obviously to cover and go get their first win. And this is probably a pick that is trendy, I would say, because North Carolina has been so close lately. I do know, of looking at our friends at BetMGM, that their model predicts that Syracuse will win with 54% confidence around that. So that is a true kind of toss up in my opinion. But I'm going to ride with North Carolina. They've been close the last couple of games. They've fallen basically on their last offensive play, and whether they fumbled it away against Cal or they went for the win in overtime against UVA and didn't get it last week. So finally, North Carolina, I'm picking them to break through this week and get that win on the road at Syracuse. You get into the Saturday slate. My picks for the 11 a.m. time slots, I've got SMU covering. I'm not picking SMU to win right now. I'm not going to change that. I think after last week, this is definitely a prove-it game for me with SMU. The line for this one now is sitting at 9.5. Sorry, that was last week's against Clemson. The line for this one is sitting at 12.5 points for Miami. Pretty big favorite there emerging in Dallas. They'd be almost 17-point favorites on a neutral site there. It makes a ton of sense that Miami, coming off the game that they had versus the game SMU had, is favored by that much. But I'm picking SMU to cover that line. They do seem to be able to play better offensively at home. That's something that they've been able to do: put up points, get touchdown drives, situated and push through with Kevin Jennings. Miami, this is their first road game that is outside of the state of Florida. This is their first trip outside the state of Florida this season. That's crazy. They, I think, take care of business and kind of keep rolling since that Louisville loss, which could very well be more of an aberration for Carson Beck throwing those picks. But SMU's defense is going to look to force some turnovers and get after them at 11 a.m. Central. That one is on ESPN. Duke at Clemson. Another good matchup here. This is a big opportunity for Manny Diaz and the Duke Blue Devils. They are 3.5-point underdogs on the road at Clemson. And I don't necessarily love Clemson to cover that line because of how they played. But I could also see this being a little bit of a get right game. I do think Clemson could come away with this win and move past it. The more I think about this game, I've gone back and forth on it, but I like Clemson to take care of business. I don't love that their chances to cover. I could see this being like a 28-26, kind of a weird scoring type of game where every yard matters. Maybe it comes down to a late stop by Clemson or a missed kick somewhere along the lines for one of these two teams. That is the difference. Clemson has to get on track, though, at Death Valley this weekend. If they don't, it is going to continue to be kind of a house of horrors for them. Feel for our friends Eric McLean and Kelly Gramlich, talk about Clemson Tigers. They had the week off. Both teams did last week. So when you look at them getting back to action, they got Duke this week. If they don't beat Duke, they've got to beat Florida State next week at home to, again, get back on the right track at Death Valley. And if not, again, things will continue to swirl about all the changes that need to happen and still should happen for Dabo Swinney's program. But a big opportunity for Manny Diaz to make a statement. It's kind of similar to what Rhett Lashley and SMU had an opportunity to do a couple weeks ago now, where they went to Clemson. They were looking to avenge a loss, but they were really looking to make a statement that their program could go on the road, handle that type of environment, and win. And they did that. Manny Diaz and co have that opportunity this week as well. Louisville at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech coming off a big win against Cal. Louisville was able to take care of business against Boston College. 10.5 points for Louisville here. This is a 2 p.m. game on the CW. I think Louisville's starting to kind of hit a stride here. I think Virginia Tech maybe comes back down to earth a little bit in this one. I like Louisville to pick up the win here and cover. I could see it being kind of maybe like a 34-20 type of game, maybe 34-17. Maybe it's kind of blowout city. Louisville just right now is starting to really impress me the way they handle their business offensively with Isaac Brown being healthy. I think that's way too much for Virginia Tech to keep up with. But I tell you what, if Virginia Tech pulls this off, just go ahead and give Philip Montgomery the job. I know the buzz is starting to swirl around James Franklin, so trust me, I'm not naive there. And I think that would be a huge hire for the ACC. But I like Louisville in this one. I think they get it done and win big. Notre Dame at Boston College. I really shouldn't even pick this game, but this is a really kind of brutal setup here for Boston College. They're 28.5 point underdogs according to BetMGM. Notre Dame at Boston College, 2:30 p.m. on ESPN. 28 points is 28.5 is a lot. I said that last week about Miami and Stanford. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. I think Marcus Freeman's one of the best coaches in America. I think he shows it. I think they flex their muscle a little bit this week and get a win. I could see it being 42-10, 42-6. It's all bad in Boston College right now. They played better last week against Louisville, but I do think Notre Dame is, on a different path right now than Louisville even. But when you look at the next game at that 2:30 window, Pitt all the way out at Stanford. This is a scary one. Mason Heinschel, the Pitt Panthers, they've been rolling. They do go all the way out to the West Coast now. So how do they handle that travel? How do they handle that opportunity? That's going to say a lot about them and obviously their direction, because if they do get past Stanford, this is kind of I guess it's a trap game. I mean, I don't think road games should be really considered trap games, but here we are. They're going all the way out to Stanford. And of course, SMU went all the way out to Wake and lost with that sandwich between two big games. This one is ahead of that Notre Dame game for Pitt, which would loom large in the college football playoff discussion. You've got to go out there and you got to handle your business. The line on this one is really interesting because, Stanford did get blown out last week with that Miami loss in the second half. Pittsburgh favored by 14.5 points on the road at Stanford. Florida State was a 17.5 point favorite earlier this year. Now, again, that was early Florida State. They still haven't won an ACC game in over a calendar year. I thought that was Florida State's, okay, kick the door down, out athlete them, break through. That did not happen. Pittsburgh playing at a different level right now. I still think they come out and are maybe a little sleepier. Stanford is really playing their tails off just from a motor perspective, from a high energy perspective. And if they can just affect Mason Heinschel, they can keep this one close. I do like Pitt to win. I'm going to pick Pitt. Something like I could see this being, 27-16, type of a game where, again, Stanford would cover, but I think Pitt does come away with the win. I don't think they get upset there, but if they did, that would be a really good sign for Stanford, a kind of a reward for all the work they've been putting in over the last, couple of months. Obviously they have the win over Florida State, but again, that's just kind of Florida State. They have taken their lumps at times this year, including the season opener against Hawaii, but they're playing some better football. They're kind of similar to North Carolina. They're playing some better football. It hasn't necessarily paid off in some games, but you can tell if you've watched Stanford really closely, which I have, that they have improved and they're getting in the right direction overall. Virginia at Cal is at 2:45. It's in that same time window there. And for me, I'm picking this one. This is Cal is a 4.5 point underdog at home. I am going to pick Cal outright here and say that Cal upsets Virginia. Virginia's been playing with a lot of fire. They got to go all the way out to the West Coast again. Both California teams are playing in that same window, the 2:30-ish window. I'm going to pick Cal to get a big upset here and kind of throw the ACC into a little bit of chaos as we enter the month of November fully. Long trip. Virginia's been playing with fire. Just give me Cal straight up. Georgia Tech at NC State is one of two night games, 6:30 p.m. on ESPN2. Georgia Tech, I kind of doubted them last week that they would take care of business against Syracuse. I thought that would be a much more competitive game, but the Jackets keep rolling. They were able to blow out Syracuse in the end, kind of waking up after that first quarter. Georgia Tech favored by 5.5 here on the road at NC State. I think they cover. I'm going to give them credit back. I think Haynes King has done a terrific job and putting together, his season, of course. but he's also going to be steady enough for this offense to get a win, and I think at least by a touchdown on the road at NC State. Things are getting bad for the Wolfpack there. It would not be surprising either if Georgia Tech maybe got up on NC State, and maybe this is the game that kind of seals the future. Not now, maybe not immediately, but Dave Doeren, this is not a must win for him to keep his job. Everybody knows that Georgia Tech is at a much different place than NC State, but I could see it being a game that kind of pushes things in that direction where it's time to make a change. Florida State hosts Wake Forest. Wake coming off of that win over SMU 13-12 last week. Florida State, guys, 9.5-point favorites in this one. This 6:30 p.m. Central on ACC Network. This is the final game we're going to preview before Dana Boyle joins us. Jake Dickert and what they've been able to do, you've got to give them a lot of credit. They play so hard. They get after opponents. I'm going to pick Wake Forest, though, to cover here, keep it close. But this is it. This is where Florida State breaks through and gets their win and kind of breaks that streak and settles things down just a hair. I still don't think Mike Norvell is going to be out of the woods. No question about that. He has a long way to go to getting back on the good graces of Seminole fans, but it does tee up nicely if they can get a win this week against Wake Forest. Then they can go on the road at Clemson, and who knows? That is a game where Clemson either could be reeling, could be doing this, could be doing that. But when you have a team like Wake Forest, where Florida State is again kind of more talented, we saw that last week against SMU with Wake Forest. Wake played really, really hard. They kept themselves in it, and it paid off for them. I do think Wake covers. I do think Florida State, though, gets their first win of ACC play and is able to get over that hump finally for Mike Norvell and this staff. It would be a huge win. It'd be in Tallahassee. That would just be a massive, massive piece to the puzzle for them as they try to steady the ship here in Tallahassee, which we'll ask Taylor Tannebaum about that at 7:40 as well, but we will have Dana Boyle here in just a couple of seconds joining us for about 15, 20 minutes on this Thursday morning, getting ready for week 10 of ACC play. She is headed out to see Clemson host Duke, a big matchup for those two teams coming off bye weeks. This is I think a massive game for Manny Diaz to kind of prove that Duke is continuing to take the right steps. It's a very difficult job. It's a job that he doesn't get enough credit for by any means. Having them once again sitting there at 4-3 overall, they'll have a chance to get one step closer to bowl eligibility. And for Clemson, sitting at 3-4, they've got a chance to get back to 500. This is a weird year for Dabo Swinney. They really do need to find a way to kind of get right at home. I'm not saying it's going to be ugly like Brian Kelly getting fired at LSU and the fans turning on him late in that one. But when you see what Brian Kelly what that happened to him at that LSU Texas A&M game, he's really ended up getting locked out of the building. Dabo Swinney, that's not going to happen to. The fans there are going to let him have it, though, if he doesn't get this win. And being there for this one, ESPN and ACC Network sideline reporter Dana Boyle. Dana, thanks so much for the time this morning. We really appreciate you coming on. How are things?
It's good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is a new little interface, so I wasn't sure if I was actually on the radio with you, but I guess I am now.
One day you've got the connects over there at the ACC Network to get us on in the morning. I trust you fully to pull through on that one.
I don't know. We're using Teams, we're using Zoom, we're using all of it these days.
I can't keep up. Ever since COVID, those Teams and Zooms and all the things are rolling. So we are live with Dana Boyle. You are getting ready to head out to Clemson this weekend. A nice fall little Saturday where the Tigers take on the Duke Blue Devils at 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern on ACC Network. Let's start there. Clemson and Duke both coming off of bye weeks. Set the stage for us in Clemson, South Carolina, as both teams still have a lot to play for in Duke's sense. But Clemson, they have this pride that they've got to find a way to get a win this weekend as well.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there with Clemson in terms of at this point they're playing for pride of their season. A lot of the players that I talked to, Peter Woods, Cade Klubnik yesterday, like they want to win November. Dabo Sweeney has the best sayings, and he said, people will remember November, and so it's not the season that they wanted. And frankly, talking to Cade Klubnik and Peter Woods, they both were really honest, and they said we haven't lost like since the sixth grade, so they're not really accustomed to losing. But I did appreciate a lot of their perspective, just sort of detailing to me that they haven't lost a lot. However, they're still having fun. They love the team. They're learning, they're growing, and like pushing through adversity with your brothers, means something. And so the culture is not something I'm worried about in Clemson with Dabo. He's a big culture guy. And I think this is just a learning year. And Dabo Sweeney told us the last week when we had SMU Clemson, he's like, this is the most fun I'm having. He's like, sure, we're not winning like I want to. There is no playoff hope. There is no ACC championship hope, but you wouldn't know it based off how the guys are practicing each and every day. And I think that speaks a lot.
Duke quarterback Darian Mensah enters this game, tied for the lead in touchdown passes in the ACC. How is this Clemson secondary going to deal with them? They've probably had to make some adjustments following that game against Kevin Jennings. And this is a similar offense. Offensive coordinator Johnny Brewer coming over from the Rhett Lashley tree.
Yeah, and Dabo made that point in his press conference this week. Just Darian Mensah's ability to extend the pocket. He can use his legs. You give them a blade of grass, they're going to take it. And so this is a real challenge for the defense. Can they stop the RPO option? Can they stop Darian Mensah? And he's just a really talented quarterback. Like you said, they're also coming off a bye week. And it was interesting how, both programs treated the bye week, both coming off of losses too, which isn't how you want to go into an open week. But Manny Diaz said, he said, we did a whole program self scout of the first 7 games of like who we are, what we can get better at. And so, they're coming into this game basically controlling their destiny. So it's interesting how both teams have, different things to play for. But at the end of the day, like for Duke, they still have a hope to get to where they want to go. And they also want to win out the next 5 games.
The job that Manny Diaz continues to do at Duke, I just don't think gets talked about enough. A win gets them one step closer to bowl eligibility. They come into the game 4-3 overall. What are your takeaways getting to chat with him a little bit as he's built this program up and put it in that right direction?
I think we're so spoiled in the ACC getting to cover it each and every week because obviously we're dealing with great football coaches, but we're also dealing with great human beings. And I can really say that for across the league. Of course, Rhett Lashley really well. He's an awesome guy. Manny Diaz, awesome guy. Like they just know how to build a program and they know how to build a culture and they do it the right way. And so, what Manny Diaz has been able to do is really just establish a standard at Duke. And you talk to any of the players, Darian Mensah, they all talk about that. Like this is a standard here. Like we're going to compete on the football field and we're also going to compete academically. And I just think, that doesn't waver with him, win or lose. Like the standard always stays the same. And I think it's a really special place. And that's hard for me to say because I went to Virginia, but I do really enjoy going to Duke and covering that institution.
Well, it's like you're a pro transitioning that. Virginia goes out to the West Coast for their matchup this week and get a chance to go out to Cal. Cal coming off that loss to Virginia Tech. I know it's not your game this week, but of course, I know you follow your Who's. What is it like? Let's start there with this top 25 run that they've been on. They've been kind of playing with fire lately, but the Who's unbeaten in ACC play and have a shot of getting to Charlotte. They do control their own destiny.
What it feels like is stress and high blood pressure. And I had a chance to talk to Coach Elliott after the game when they beat UNC. And I'm like, honestly, Coach, like, how's your blood pressure? And he's like, it's fine. Like, I'm just used to it. So, to your point, I think this team has just become so used to being in those situations and they just find a way to win. I do think it's a little bit of luck, but if you think about what happened in the offseason with Virginia, Tony was able to go into the portal, because he had support and funding from the administration, and he was able to build some competitive depth with his roster. And you're seeing that this year. It's not just, one or two guys on the O line or D line. They've got backups. And so that also helps them practice. And I remember him saying, after last year, he's like, it's difficult to practice because we have injuries and we don't have that competitive depth. So now they're going against top competition. And I think you're just seeing the process and the progress that the team is making. And it does take time. Like, I think people are really quick to jump on Dabo Sweeney about, like, oh, it's not working, he's got to go. But I'm like, he's established this culture and it takes time. And so you're kind of seeing the beginning stages of that with Coach Elliott, and building something really special at Virginia. And also, Chandler Morris is a dog. Like,
Yeah.
that guy gets knocked down, he gets banged up, and there's no indication that he's coming off the field. I'm just really impressed with the grit of that young man.
Yeah, it's crazy watching him grow up around SMU and Highland Park and then have the career he's kind of had going, from place to place and now landing at Virginia. I remember talking to him at ACC Media Days this summer, and he's just taken so much from all the experiences that he's had. And he's the straw that stirs the drink there
Mhm.
in Charlottesville. What is it about him that this year has really stood out to you when you've gotten a chance to be around them, watch him on the field, all of those things that he's now putting it together and playing for a guy that he's known since he was a kid?
I know. And another connection with Clemson. I actually spoke with him during spring ball, and I was like, why Virginia? Like, you're a Texas boy. Why'd you want to come to Virginia? And he was very honest and clear. He's like, I came here to win an ACC championship and compete in the college football playoff. Like, dead serious, not even a joke in his face. And so I think that kind of tells you all you need to know about him, and then the mentality. But also with the Clemson connection, he's known Tony Elliott since he was a little kid. And so I asked him, I'm like, what do you remember about Tony when you were running around the field at Death Valley? And he's like, Coach taught me ball security. And he was like 6 years old, which is so amazing coming from a coach. But he has this like quiet confidence about him. Like, on the field, he's a baller, and then he comes off the field and he's just really steady, like, personality wise, like, unflappable. When you see him at practice, like, I've had a chance to talk to him after practices, and he's just like a normal guy. Like, you would never know that he gets high, he gets low. He just kind of is the leader of that team. And I think you obviously need that from your quarterback, but I've also seen him get after some guys in practice when they're going through a walkthrough and they're kind of going through the motions. And so he is through and through a football player, but a really nice kid.
ACC Network's Dana Boyle joining us this morning on All Access AM. We'll get to the big picture ACC championship race in just a moment, but I do want to end with one more thing with Virginia. With the investment that they made this offseason, they gave Tony Elliott the tools to succeed. He obviously is proving them right by doing so. What is the next step for UVA? And are you seeing that the obvious return on investment is getting people to say, hey, okay, I like this. Let's keep this rolling and keep football headed in the right direction?
Do you want my honest opinion, or do you want my biased opinion as an alum?
Both. Let's hey,
No, I'm
both.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I think you set that up really nice. It just, Carla Williams, Dr. Carla Williams, the athletic director, made a conscious effort to, invest in football, and look at where it's gotten UVA. Look at where it's gotten the institution. Like, obviously, people want to come to school here because of the academic rigor, but you can have both. Like, you can be a football player and you can go to school here. And so I think what Tony Elliott is building is that model. He is so concerned with the details, with the little things. I mean, they beat Washington State 2 weeks ago, and he's talking to us on our coaches call about he got after guys for jogging on and off the field, like not flushing the toilets in the facility. Like, he's very concerned with the little things. And I think having him as the leader to kind of transition this football program into something relevant, to be quite honest, like, when I was a student athlete, like, we were okay, but we never got this national recognition. And so for the first time, I think these young men are learning to deal with success and, like, learn how to handle it. And what a perfect person to have in charge in Tony Elliott. And I think, the sky's the limit with the program. You see it done across the ACC. Like, you can go to school and you can also be competing for a college football playoff like a Clemson. So I'm excited for the future, and I'm just really proud as a alum to see Tony Elliott and what he's been able to bring this football program, and really just the community. I still live in Charlottesville, and there's a buzz around town. Like, 5, 6 years ago, nobody's planning their weekends around a football game, and that's really changed. And so it's really special to witness.
And when you look at this ACC championship picture, they're right in the thick of it. Right at
Hmm.
the top. The weekly release goes out by the ACC, and there they are, right next to Georgia Tech, who's unbeaten. Georgia Tech is just such a cool story as well, with Haynes King. The toughness of him, Brent Keebing, that tough-minded, blue collar mentality. These two teams really embody this new era of college football where there can be that parity, and you can see these teams invest and get the right situation and the right coach and the right quarterback and be up at the top of these rankings and standings. Do you think Georgia Tech is going to, one, finish at that top and get to Charlotte and run the rest of their table in the ACC? And just speak to the job that you've seen from Brent Key, getting the amount of time that you guys get around him.
Yeah, I make no predictions anymore in the ACC because it's total chaos. So while I would love to
Yes.
say yes, Georgia Tech is going to run the table, who knows? Who knows what will
Yeah.
happen? We saw what happened to Miami, which I will say, in their defense, the sky is not falling despite what people think. But in terms
Yeah.
of Brent Key and Georgia Tech, he has done a remarkable job. He takes over as interim, and again, it's like a culture builder. He reminds me of a Dabo Sweeney. He reminds me of a Tony Elliott. Like, the attention to detail that they have outside of the X's and O's of their football program is a reason why they're so successful. And of course, Brent Key's a lineman, so he's sort of a national treasure in terms of a personality. He's so intense. He's extremely funny. But his players want to run through a wall for him. And so that's what I see when I am on the field, whether it's at walkthrough or I'm at games. Like, he just has this captivating personality that these student athletes want to play for. And then you have a quarterback like Haynes King. Like, he is Georgia Tech. Like, he should be in the Heisman conversation. Again, he's a guy that, is playing banged up, has played banged up, and he just continues to push through. And then you have Jamal Haynes, and you've got the combination they have at running back with Malachi Holsey. Like, they just have guys who want to play football, but they want to play for their head coach. And that to me is such a dangerous recipe when you're facing a team like Georgia Tech.
Well, and you look at just how Haynes has really been able to stay healthy enough this year and play through that. Obviously, they run him. They work him like a workhorse. I mean, he is that guy for them. But he's to identify somebody that can do that, I think is really cool. And the offense one day will change with Aaron Philo, and he's seen some time too. But Haynes, at least he's a couple hours away, from Longview, Texas, from us. And just watching him come up his journey, not as bounce as much bouncing around as Chandler Morris had, but you still have to stay positive and find yourself in this journey, especially at a position that is as lonely at times as quarterback is. To
Hmm.
see him develop has just been so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think he reminds me in some ways, to your point about Chandler Morris. Like, they just have this like calm confidence about them. It's not cocky, it's not arrogant. It's like a humble, quiet confidence, and that's exactly my interactions with Haynes King. Like, he just wants to play football. He just wants to do whatever he can to win the football game. I mean, you saw in the Duke game, he looks over to the sidelines to Brent Key to be like, "Can I run the ball? Should I run it?" So he just, regardless, he's willing to put his body on the line, and um, he's such a joy to get to speak to because in this day and age, like like with NIL, and sometimes you just lose a little bit of the love for the game because you're focused on the wrong things. And that's not the case with Haynes King. I think the way he motivates his team, and again, the team plays for Brent Key, but they also play for Haynes King, and he's a great leader, and that's what you need at that position. And so, I mean, Georgia Tech is a dangerous team. Again, they've had some close games. They've gotten maybe lucky, so to speak, but when I've covered them, there's never been an indication when they go into the halftime locker room, whether they're down, that they're out of the fight. Even if they're down by a significant, deficit, like everybody believes that they're going to win the game. And that like belief to me is like so powerful as a former student athlete. Like if you really think you're the best team, like that's half the battle right there.
Let's get you out of there out of here on this, and we appreciate all the time. Pitt, Louisville, SMU, Duke, Miami, all sitting with one loss in the ACC right now, still in the mix for that trip to Charlotte for the ACC championship. Is there a team in there that kind of stands out to you, at least entering November, that might be playing the best ball entering November in terms of where they need to be entering the stretch run?
Repeat the teams again. You said Duke, Louisville.
Pitt, Louisville, SMU, Duke, Miami, all sitting with one loss in league play right now.
I mean, people overreacted when Miami had a loss. Like, it's okay. This guy's not falling. Carson Beck's still a good quarterback. I understand that he threw some picks, some of those really good plays on the ball. I mean, to me, it's Miami, and then obviously SMU and Miami play this weekend. And so I think that's a big determinant of, the race to the ACC championship game. And to me, both those teams, I think, have the brightest future. Now, if SMU doesn't beat Miami, things could get interesting for the Ponies. But to me, it's Miami. Like they control their own destiny. They have one loss. Maybe that loss was the best thing that happened to them. I mean, sometimes when you lose, you can really look inward and figure out what you need to change as a program. But for me, it's Miami. As painful as that is for me to say, how much I've covered your Ponies. But I'm pulling for all of them.
Well, awesome. Well, look, Dana Boyle, we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for hanging out with us this morning, and safe travels over to Clemson this weekend.
Yeah, thanks. Have fun. SMU Miami is going to be a great game.
I know. We're looking forward to that one. We will see a sold-out Ford Stadium for that one, and enjoy Death Valley. It's great over there too.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
There she goes, Dana Boyle, joining us on All Access AM, and we roll right into our next guest, who is going to be at sold-out Ford Stadium this weekend as SMU takes on Miami. A good friend of the show, and that is Taylor Tannebaum. Taylor, welcome to All Access AM, your first appearance. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. It's great to see you. You're up bright and early doing this. I love it.
Well, 19-month-old boy today. So, yeah, we might as well do a little morning show as he gets
Happy
off to
birthday.
school. I know, right? We celebrate the months around here still.
I love it.
Every day really is his birthday around here. So, you get to head over to Dallas this weekend. You're home away from home last year. How excited are you guys to get back with the huddle?
I'm really excited. Like this is the one we had circled for, when we got the news this year that we were going to be going to the best game of the week, not necessarily tied to the 8 p.m. game. We knew this would probably be the one on the schedule that we were eyeing. So I'm just happy to be coming back. Fans were so wonderful to us last year on the Boulevard. Now we're going to be outside Dallas Hall because we were expecting more people and a bigger crowd. So that is a call to action for everybody listening and watching right now to come out 9 Central, 10 Eastern, to come hang out with the crew. And it's a little bit of a different crew. We got Jimbo Fisher along for the ride this time, me, Eddie Royal, and of course, Eric McLean. So it's going to be a good time. I think the Pony Express might be coming to join us on set at some point.
Ooh.
So yeah, come on out. Come one, come all.
Well, quite the backdrop of Dallas Hall. That is some breaking news on the show this morning. That's exciting stuff. And look, Eric will just have to find a new set of barbecue tailgates to hit on the Boulevard. So he'll be bringing the.
You won't have trouble doing that. I can assure you.
No. We know that is an easy pick to make going into this weekend. What is maybe not as much of an easy pick, but maybe easier last week. Or after last week would be SMU Miami.
Yeah.
This is a game that maybe didn't necessarily lose a bunch of luster because it is still so important in the race, but SMU falls last week to Wake Forest. Meanwhile, Miami wakes up. They roll past Stanford in the end. This is one that SMU fans have had circled since getting into the ACC. Now SMU has a lot to play for in this one and get back on track. What's your sense of this one going into it?
I understand suffering a loss is hard. And I know I just heard Dana Boyle talking about how maybe the loss for Miami was the best thing that happened to them. I never want SMU to drop a game, but what I do know is Rhett Lashley cares more than anybody else. And that's a man who already cooks in the lab when they're winning. I know he's been in there this week, trying to develop the best possible game plan, trying to get his guys as ready as possible. And one thing about this SMU team, I really think there's great leadership on both sides of the ball. That's something I've never questioned. And I think you're going to need to see that really show up this week. And got a chance to talk to Kevin Jennings earlier in the week on the Eric McLean's podcast, the Graham Lincoln McLean podcast. And he's done this so many times, and he's had his ups and downs at points. But he was saying, no, like we got right back in there. No one was really hanging their heads. Like we understood it was disappointing to lose, but something good can come out of it. So that's why I think what happened is behind them. Rhett Lashley's going to have this team ready. He did it amidst all the wins, right? They flushed all the wins every single week and kept coming back to the drawing board when they could have gotten complacent. I expect the same thing this week. After a loss, refocus, get back to work. Now, is the task tall? Absolutely, against a really good Miami team. But if I'm SMU, I'm kind of looking at what Louisville did. And Jeff Brom even said it after Louisville walked away with that win. He was like, we kind of made them throw it more than I think they probably would have wanted to. Got out ahead early, 14-0, and had Miami on their heels. If SMU can do that, sold out crowd, liable to make an explosive play at any given moment, kind of jump Miami and then see what you can do. And hey, this defense can take away the football for SMU. Like club takeaways is open 24/7. Why not? So I don't know. That's the game plan that I think I would apply, but obviously I'm not a coach. And I have full faith in what Rhett Lashley and SMU can do in a bounce back.
I'm so glad you brought up Jeff Brom Miami just having to pass the ball more against Louisville. This SMU run defense is really stout, and they did a nice job last week against DeMond Claiborne, and they played well as a whole, which was a huge deal for SMU going into November for sure. Did you in your prep watch some of the Miami press conferences around the run game this week? Because I encourage you to check out Shannon Dawson's if you did not.
I have not seen Shannon Dawson yet, but I did listen to Mario's talking, just complimenting both sides of the ball, as he should. And he knows exactly what Coach Lashley's capable of, especially offensively. And you look on paper and you look on the film, you can see what this defense can do. Look no further than what they did against Wake Forest last week. So no, what was Shannon talking about?
So Miami fans are upset that they do not run the ball outside the tackles enough. And so there was a full-blown almost film session going on in Shannon Dawson's press conference where he's explaining A, B, C gaps. It is awesome. I've known Shannon a long time, so I love him. This is great stuff.
Is he reading the press clippings?
The press is reading the fans' reactions to said run game, and it's just an interesting watch. So I encourage you. Yeah, and maybe Shannon is trying to make this SMU run defense prepare for some outside runs because Mark Fletcher likes to stick it up, in the middle and be physical. And coming from American heritage, he's done that for years. Make explosive plays and make things happen. And he is one of the top running backs right now in the ACC. Just what he's been able to do. And SMU is going to have a tall task on their hands, but. This Miami passing attack with Malachi Toney and CJ Daniels, share a little bit for SMU fans as far as what SMU is getting themselves into this weekend with that.
They're getting some dudes, and really they're just athletes. Like Carson Beck has really very quickly developed a relationship with CJ Daniels. First and foremost, he leads the team with 6 touchdowns and receptions, and there's not a catch he can't make. That's what I've noticed about CJ Daniels. Like every catch is a human highlight reel. But he's going to be where he needs to be when he needs to be there. And on the Malachi Toney side of things, like he's just a dog. Like he's out there fighting when the ball's not in his hands. He's blocking. Like he'll do a little bit of everything. Like he's a scrappy freshman. And I talked to KJ this week, also talked to Mark Fletcher Jr. and he played at Heritage, and so did Malachi Toney. And Tony's a little bit younger than Mark Fletcher, but they were on the same teams that won championships and all that good stuff. And he was talking about Malachi and the fact that, like, look, he's got this God-given talent. Like, he really doesn't need to go out there and work at it. There obviously he can hone some of his skills, but it comes to him so naturally, unlike a lot of other really good football players. It's just different for Malachi Tony. But he said he's the one in the lab, and he really sets the precedent, not just for freshmen in the building where, hey, like, you still got to come to work even if you're a 4 or 5-star dude, for sophomores, for juniors, for seniors. Like, hey, if this guy who's naturally gifted and a star on this team is going to be working this hard, then I better work my tail off too. So I thought that was a really impressive note on Malachi Tony, because he doesn't have to do that because of his God-given talents, but he clearly cares. And it's very evident on the football field too. But man, that guy will make you miss. CJ Daniels to me is more of just like a finesse. I've played football way longer than you, and it's me and you and the ball. It's going to be me and the ball. Like, you can get out of the picture. For Malachi Tony, man, he's just a freak athlete. And like, they can use him so many different ways. He's ran for a touchdown. He's thrown for 2 points. He's caught a touchdown. So you have to account for 10 whenever he's on the football field.
Well, whenever your nickname's Baby Jesus,
which is hilarious to me. And that's his story in high school is, he came into high school as like a young he was a quarterback, I guess, coming into high school. He's young. He's the best athlete on the field, then moved to wide receiver. But then in their state championship game, like, their quarterback got hurt. So he played quarterback and won them a state championship still. Like, granted, the team at Heritage is very talented, but regardless, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I've been down to some Heritage games back when Pat Surtain the second was running around, Tyson Campbell and guys like that. It's Bell. I mean, it's just a factory down there of football talent. A place that has kind of added some of that talent through the years. Florida State, quite the transition here. If you're interested in discussing your Seminoles, what is your take on the program right now? I think they get in the win column this weekend. I do think they can pull it off at home against Wake Forest in a close one, but it's still tedious in Tallahassee, I would say.
On that note, this game does freak me out the same way the Stanford game worried me. I had the same feeling about that one. Was, first of all, that West Coast, that travel's kind of hard. But Wake is now vying for a bowl game when most people never thought they'd be in this position at all. And there's this sense of belief for Wake Forest under Jake Dickert that I'm not quite sure Florida State has right now. Actually, I'm positive they don't have it right now because it's been taken away from them. Slowly but surely every week it's been draining. It's emotionally draining. It is physically draining. They are coming off of a bye week, which I do love because it was a chance for Mike Norvell to get recentered and this coaching staff, but also for the leaders in this locker room, like I mentioned for SMU, to step up for Florida State. I don't know who that is at this point. I would assume it's a guy I love in Tommy Castellanos, but again, he's only been there for 10 months, okay? Who are the other guys who are going to step up in that locker room and say, are you with me or you want to get out? That's going to show up on the football field this weekend and reveal itself. Like, we can talk about it all we want, but we're going to see it between the lines for 60 minutes on Saturday. Are they the more talented team on paper? Absolutely, no question. Their key is going to be stopping Damon Claiborne, and their key is going to be moving the football against a Wake Forest defense that has proven itself. That is going to be trying to make life really hard for Florida State, and they made it really hard for SMU. So it's going to be, protect your quarterback and Tommy Castellanos, move the football, don't beat yourself, and then defensively, can you not allow Damon Claiborne to run up and down the field like you have to some running backs this season? So, I want to have faith in Florida State. I think the culture is a little bit shaken right now, but we're going to see who's really with it and who's really not this weekend. Like, who stands behind their head coach and who stands behind the spear on your helmet and who doesn't. So, yeah, I do expect them to win. They're at home. It's homecoming. Like, get it together. But I also would not be shocked if Wake Forest pulls it off. I'm just going to say that.
So I was fully confident that Florida State was going to go to the West Coast and figure it out and win big, and maybe that was their time. I was very wrong about that, obviously. But, it's been just so interesting to watch with the changes. They brought in Gus Malzahn. I don't think it's been a bad experience. I don't think it's necessarily been great. Tony White installing his new defense hasn't been bad. It hasn't been great. It's just been all sorts of inconsistencies that have cost Florida State at times. And oh, by the way, they still beat Alabama to open the year, which is light years ago now. But do you think there is fixing this under Mike Norvell? Because I still think he's a good coach. I just don't know where it's gone wrong now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's the hardest thing. It's so hard to pinpoint what's going on. And it's hard to say, but that's why when you say, like, you bring in new coordinators, you have a head coach in Mike Norvell, who is a great man. And granted, I don't know specifically what's going on in that locker room, but I've heard plenty of players who have come out in support of him. It's really incumbent on the guys on the field at the end of the day. Like, go out and play for you. Go play for the name on the back of your jersey, play for the name on the front of your jersey, and play for each other. Like, at some point, the coaches can only do so much. Like, Tony White is a proven defensive coordinator at several different places, which is why he got this job here in Tallahassee. And I know it takes time for defenses, especially in a new scheme like the one that he brings, for it to work. And Coach Dave Clawson says that all the time. Like, you'll very rarely see a first-year DC having real success because defense just takes a little bit longer when you're changing it up like that. He's a proven dude. Gus Malzahn is too, and he has a great quarterback in Tommy Castellanos. For whatever reason, it's not clicking, and that's why I look at the dudes on the field. That's why I look up at the guys on the field. Like, you have to have the want to, the desire, and do that little extra thing to get the job done. All of these losses have been one score. They're in every single game. And that doesn't mean that's a consolation prize. You need to be on the right side of them. There's absolutely no excuse for that. You are the better team in majority of these games with the better talent on the roster. But when the game is going and the coaches are on the sideline, like, at that point, it's the people on the field that need to get the job done. Like, you can only do so much from the sideline.
Yeah,
that's my feel.
Let's turn our attention to happier times, which is getting to Charlotte with your crew for the ACC Championship in about a month or so now. What a race we have on our hands going into November for the ACC Championship. Georgia Tech and UVA controlling their own destinies, unbeaten in league play. Let's start with those two. Let's give them their flowers. Georgia Tech, Haynes King, Brent Key, everybody that is an ACC fan knows the stories of those two and their hard-nosed style now. It's been cool to see it finally kind of break through, at least the first 2 months of the season, and see them at the point where they have Georgia Tech football right now.
Yeah, it's been building, right? And we've obviously watched, but the people nationally who aren't paying attention are like, who's Georgia Tech and what's going on here? Like, this has been happening. And it's happening to good people who, again, these are people who really care. Like, they go out there and they fight for their brothers. They fight for the brand every single week. And that is so obvious. They're good all around. Like, they're just a solid football team. And situationally, we've talked about it all season. They're really good in those little situations that can make or break a game, literally a game of inches. That's where Georgia Tech has thrived, whether it be a long field goal or executing a third down or fourth down conversion. Haynes King putting the team on his back when he needs to. The defense coming up with a stop when it's absolutely critical. Like, those little moments have shown up very big for Georgia Tech this season, which is why they keep winning, because there's so much parity around the country. It really can be anybody's game on a Saturday, it feels like. But Georgia Tech has ensured in those little moments that it doesn't get away from them. And that's the sign of a well-coached team and a team that really cares and has that inner belief and has worked really hard Monday through Friday when they take the field on Saturdays, right? Like, perfecting the practice in order to be great on a Saturday. Jimbo Fisher talks about that a lot. So it's great to see them undefeated. I think it's great for the league. The league is in a good position because there's so many teams now in the conversation. Now, though, Billy, this keeps happening every year. Can they close? Like, I would really appreciate if this league, we would not get till the last week of the season where we're saying, hey, if these three teams win, we're getting three teams in the playoff. And then all three of those teams blow it. And we're like, man, can we just get one of these teams in the playoff? That would be great. So, they're going to have to close. And they're, the Virginia Techs of the world. The Virginia Tech can play spoiler for a lot of people. Pitt can play spoiler for a lot of people in this last month. But I have a lot of faith in Georgia Tech and Miami and what SMU could potentially do, and Louisville. Virginia,
Yeah.
We'll see.
Tough one this weekend for the Who's, going all the way out there. And Cal, a little ticked off maybe
Right.
about losing at Virginia Tech.
Right.
I've got that one
Me too.
circled. I don't know about you.
Me too. That's
Yeah.
one too. And just the East Coast, West Coast swing is tough. And when you want to watch teams right now ascend, they've dealt with some injury and they've had like 48 different offensive line combinations this season, which is just like insane. And Chandler Morris is clearly very hurt, their quarterback. They're going to have to go out and fight. They're going to have to go out and it's going to really quite literally take everybody to get that one done.
When you look at the one-loss teams, it is a crew of them. Obviously, we'll see one drop from that ranks this weekend right off the bat when SMU takes on Miami at 11 a.m. on Saturday on ESPN. The ACC Huddle, of course, will be there 9 Central on the Boulevard right in front of Dallas Hall. Great backdrop for you guys.
Let's
But
go.
let's end on this. The one-loss group, Louisville, SMU, Duke, Miami, and Pitt in that group with one loss in ACC play. Do you have a pick as far as who makes the move and is booking hotels in Charlotte come first weekend of December? Do you do predictions? Do you do those?
Yeah, I'm allowed.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. I know I heard Dana talking, and it's easy to say Miami because I do think they're the most talented
Yeah.
team. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I think everybody knows that. I think they're the best chance for this team to win or this conference to win a national championship, just based on how they're built. But in the month of November, Mario Cristobal, I believe it's 4-8 since he's hired in the month of November. 4-8 is the record. I hate the Pitt game at the end of the season. They have to go to Pittsburgh for that last game of the season, and I hate it. I will lean Louisville.
I love
in
it.
That conversation.
I think Louisville is really, really good, and Jeff Brom, if he can kind of avoid, the letdown game that has kind of hurt them last year against Stanford, for example, they'll be right there. And
they were right there.
Yeah, they really were. They really were. And Isaac Brown is so good. He's healthy. Let's get you out on that. Best running back in the country, changed my mind. I don't know. I mean, he's
Jeremiah Love is the one that I would put there,
one.
but
still some ACC love there, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, we dabble. We dabble. Come join the ACC.
Dabble and we dabble. Yeah.
That would be really nice. No, but Isaac Brown, and I hope people nationally are paying more attention to him. But like, we were looking up some stuff. Dave Clawson was who's like the fastest running backs in the country. And in terms of top speeds, based on this system that we use at ESPN. Damon Claiborne was second in top speed reached by an FBS running back, and Isaac Brown was third. Like, he's a dude. But he's legit.
Awesome. Well, we're so looking forward to having you back in Dallas and enjoy the travel, and hopefully you guys will be in a good spot Friday night for dinner before you guys are up bright and early and getting after it on ACC Network at 9 a.m. Central in front of Dallas Hall.
Thank you so much. I'm pumped. And I actually I got to send you a note about that, about some dinner on Friday night. I'll get to you offline. Sounds good.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Love it. Well, great. Well, Taylor Tannebaum, thanks so much for joining us, and appreciate all of you guys for stopping in on this edition of All Access AM.
Thanks, Billy.
All right. There she goes. Taylor Tannebaum off to travel to Dallas for this weekend's SMU Miami game and the ACC Huddle kicking things off in front of Dallas Hall. Really hope you guys have enjoyed another week of All Access AM down. That's 3 weeks for us now. We're so appreciative of you guys who have hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel, All Access AM, or followed us on X at All Access AM, Instagram, All Access AM. We'll continue to listen to you guys, bring on guests, and continue to make this a fun, interactive show. I mean, we had a ton of comments today. Want to shout out Xavier, Kenny, More Right Rudder, Tom, Devon, one of the two. Chime in the chat with your Georgia Tech Go Jackets every morning. I see you. We appreciate you guys for chiming in and joining us on this edition of All Access AM. We're presented by our friends at Horn Legend. Make sure you go to hornlegend.com and check out their entire selection of polos, pullovers, sports shirts, and vests, more. Get free shipping with code PONY. That gets you free shipping and their free return. So a great brand to check out for you guys. It's quarter zip weather, at least here in Dallas. So make sure you guys get geared up for this stretch run of the season. And whether your team's looking at Charlotte as a destination or looking at, being a cellar dweller, you might as well look good cheering on your team. So check them out, hornlegend.com. Appreciate our friends at OPW Solutions and Security National Bank for supporting us as well during the week. And we're excited. We've got some new announcements on some new sponsors getting added to the mix next week. So we're growing like crazy. We appreciate all you guys for listening. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. Have a safe Halloween. We are going as Cowboys or Western or whatever. We've got the whole cowboy hat look going for Jack, my 19-month-old now. We're looking forward to his kind of first venture into true trick-or-treating. So I hope you guys have a great Halloween with your families and enjoy another week of college football on ACC Football. I'm Billy Embody. Thanks for watching this edition of All Access AM. We'll catch you next week, Monday, 7 a.m. Central Time. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.